Well, hello, hello. Good afternoon. We're at the afternoon drive with Drew Mulholland. I am not Drew Mulholland. I'm Caleb Noble filling in for him today. And we are here today to learn about Just Inspire. So right here we have Justin Elliott, and we have Brandon Hayes, and we have Shawn Devenish. Brandon is a coach here at Triton. He's a wrestling coach. And Justin also helps with the wrestling team. And Shawn also helps with the wrestling team. So we kind of have a combo today. Going to learn about Just Inspire and a little about wrestling team. First, I just want to say something about, from what I understand, we have a national champion that went to Triton at one point. You guys tell us a little bit about him?
Sure. Over the weekend, they were having the NCAA championships for Division I, Division II, and III. And Triton graduate John Boyle was actually the first national champion in any sport from the Newburyport area. He wrestled at 184 pounds. The Boyles have an impressive pedigree for wrestlers.
That's awesome.
Their whole family.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you guys must have been pretty happy to have that happen, right?
It's exciting to see the kids go on to the next level and compete well.
That's cool. So I just want you guys to tell us a little bit about each one of you guys. Justin, we'll start with you, a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today.
The way I got here was I have cystic fibrosis and was born with it, diagnosed at birth, and I met Brandon when I was about 6 years old. Basically knew him all the way through childhood, and I actually just recently met Devenish. But cystic fibrosis, got brought up, had an active family where you had to exercise no matter what. So it led me to Triton Wrestling eventually, and got that camaraderie and that drive like everybody, all the wrestlers there, and somehow brought us all together here.
Yeah, so Brandon, tell me a little bit about you. Your story.
Sure. Where do you want me to begin?
So how did you get involved, with Justin and all that wrestling, and how's that had a big impact in your life?
As Justin said, we're lifelong friends. Wrestling, the way that I look at it is it gives you a head start in preparation for real life. Wrestling's a difficult sport, and you have to put your body through turmoil, put your mind through turmoil in order to make it through. We don't do a good job at creating robustness anymore in our children with their face buried in smartphones, and they're not out getting active anymore. And physical toughness translates directly to mental toughness.
That makes sense.
So the things that we want to push forward is that even if you have what we would call impediments or something that keeps you from moving forward in your life, like Justin has cystic fibrosis, you can't put a frame on it where it looks like a curse to you. It has to look like something you can push through. And we have a victim culture now that feeds into this notion that people should give you things because of your hardships. Mm-hmm. It's just not the way that the world works, and it sets us up for failure. Yeah. And I see a lot of people come through wrestling and have hardships and then begin to succeed. We'd like to make that a more common story. Yeah.
So mental toughness, I know that's something I just picked out what you were saying. So how's mental toughness? You train the boys, in wrestling, mental toughness. I remember growing up, I went to Triton too, watching all the wrestlers wearing trash bags, trying to get weight and all that crazy stuff.
Those days
are over.
Oh, really? You can't do that anymore?
No.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I remember that, and it was pretty insane watching, and everybody running out and getting water and stuff like that, sweating.
Sure. We still allow that.
All right. So, Shawn, tell us a little bit about you as well. I know I went to high school. His brother's one of my best friends growing up. So.
Yeah, well, I'm legally blind, so I've been since birth. In high school I played football, I wrestled, and I ran track. And like Brandon said, Justin and I kind of have the similar story because we, for a long time, were told we can't really do what we wanted to do. And I was told I couldn't play football. I probably shouldn't have, but it was a good time. I was told I couldn't wrestle, and I remember the first practice I wrestled, Brandon came up to me and said, "So you're legally blind?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that's cool." And then he just walked past me. And I'm like, wow, that's usually not the normal response. And And so I wrestled in high school. You know, we won a sectional title when I was on the team. I still have the Triton record of 16 losses in a row. But you know, we had success, and then I went into teaching, and I came back, and Coach Mack asked me to help him coach with the wrestling team, and I said, yeah, that'd be great. And you know, that's where I met Justin and heard his story and how inspiring it was, and I think we had some good times, you know, out at the tournaments and all that. And I think the kids took a lot from seeing Justin and I able to come back and show, you know, mental toughness, like Brandon said, and do things that we probably weren't supposed to be able to do. Yeah. And I think they really took from that the lesson of, if someone tells you can't do something, doesn't mean you just can't. Just, you know, go out there and try it. And if you never know if you don't try. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, you know, it definitely is inspiring to think about that. It's like, you know, in life, people are afraid of failure, you know what I mean? But I think it's worse if you don't try and have regret the rest of your life, you know what I mean? So it's kind of cool hearing what you guys have to say, you know, about that. And I mean, I was just reading up. I mean, I knew about Justin. I went to school with his sister and stuff like that growing up. But I always knew he had cystic fibrosis, but I never heard his story. And recently, I was just looking on Facebook. I've been following. He's posting all these awesome videos on Facebook and stuff. It's inspiring. Watch him go for runs and all this stuff. And
Thank you.
I'm good friends with Donnie Jarvis, and he was telling me a while ago how you were like pretty much on death's door.
Yep.
And just can you just take from there? Tell us a little bit about maybe your last few months and kind of like what's transpired.
Okay. Where do I begin? Well, first off, I've been working up for a transplant the last 2 years, and it led me up to the last few months where it's kind of fitting. Today's March 12th, which is 18 years the day my brother Josh passed away. And I didn't want to I was real sick. I knew I knew CF beat me down. I need a double lung transplant. Ooh, tense. But, you know, I knew it was coming around the corner, and I didn't want to just be a name where someone tells stories and then over time you fade. I wanted that legacy, you know, something where I could leave to others, you know, inspire others. So I just dug a little bit deep of where I could go to find myself some inspiration, besides which I was getting from my family. Mm-hmm. And Brandon popped up in my mind. And I was talking to my roommate, Kevin Breen, from Breen, by the way, Breen and Sullivan.
Yep.
You want to shout out right there? I was talking to him, and I ran the idea about Just Inspire, about maybe getting some money together that get some kids active again in the community. And I knew Brandon was, like, that's what he's up for. So I reached out, and when I reached out to him, we sat down, we talked about it. I told him what was going on. He knew probably was coming, cystic fibrosis, what toll it did to me at the time. And I always remembered being in that mat room. So this is sort of funny, fitting, but, you know, great. The mat room, besides being at my family's house growing up, was the only place I ever felt like I wasn't sick. I couldn't have CF. There was no excuses in that room. What everybody else is expected there, everybody else, that's it. You got to do it. If you don't do it, you're going to get called out, not by Coach Mack, but by your other teammates, you know, like Brandon. So you have to hold yourself accountable. So I went back just to see a practice in November. It was the first practice. That's when I met Devenish.
Lucky you.
Lucky me. I am blessed to have met you, buddy. And I got re-inspired. I remembered all the memories that I went through, all the heartaches and failures, like you were just saying and stuff. But the camaraderie of seeing the guys running around, beginning of practice, it showed that there was a purpose to me, and that was it. So that I got asked by Coach Mack if I wanted to come back the next day, and then eventually coach, which was awesome. And then about 2 weeks later, I had this bad pain going on in me I've never felt before, like my whole right side. And I knew something was wrong, called my doctor, and I was hemoptysizing, a lot of blood, and went in there, And it was basically, fight for your life kind of deal. For like, I slept like 10 hours and 12 days when I was there because I felt like if I was going to fall asleep, I wasn't going to wake up.
What were the dates?
It was December 6th to the 16th. And then I only went home for like 8 hours. No, the 6th to the 15th, went home for 8 hours with the family, checked back in, and there was 3 days of suffering, I guess. But on the way into that was, my arms went blue. Some craziness. My arms went blue. My body was sucking in. My kidneys were failing. My teeth were like falling out of my head. It was some crazy stuff going on. My body was just shutting down. CF beat me up. And then I got a visit from my sister, niece, nephew, one of my best friends. And they came in, and I seen my little brother and my niece and nephew, and I was like, I can't let CF beat me down. I got to show them that I'm okay and that this is all right. Because they knew what was coming. We've talked about this in the open in the family about what was coming up. Because if transplant didn't happen, transplant isn't a fix. You know what I mean? It's a, like, postpone kind of deal.
Yeah.
It just gives you extra time. So, like, we knew it was going where, it was there. Like, my nieces and nephews are the closest thing to me. And they were prepared that it was over. Yeah. And I just wanted to show them it was okay. So I went home for 8 hours. I manned up, went out there, just from the wrestling kind of stuff. Same mentality, always, it prepares you for life. And I don't want to say I put a fake smile on because I was very happy. But put a smile on, enjoyed some stuff, went back, and then got told by the doctors when I went in that it'll keep me as comfortable as possible. That, they're going to search and try to figure out what's going on. And I was comforting them more than anything. I was just telling them it's okay. It's a weird feeling that you get. It's they say bliss. It was like all the worries off your shoulders. Eventually, it's just you're ready. And I was like, I was having spiritual experiences, and it was best doctors in the country, CF, telling me, cystic fibrosis, telling me, hey, this is it. And like I only got 1.5 lungs. I had a lobectomy 2 years ago, just to get me the transplant, and I ran 3.6 miles yesterday.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it was, when I got told that it was over, I did my last calls, said my goodbyes, and it's kind of funny. I shot Hayes a text saying I've only read it once since then. After this text, I just put the phone down, and then it was like a month after we read it together. And that's the only time I've ever read it. And it was about Justin Spire, about no matter what promise me, you make this, my name, I have a legacy, and so absolutely. And now we're doing it together instead.
That's awesome. So we're going to take a quick little break, but when we get back, I want to talk about Justin Spire and kind of the motivation and what you guys are trying to do with it. You know what I mean? Let's learn a little bit more about it. So we'll be back in about 60 seconds. And we're back. So let's talk about Justin Spire. What's the the motivation? We heard Justin wants to leave a legacy for people when he's gone. You know what I mean? Or
Sure.
What he thought he was going to be gone, but he's still here, which is amazing.
I was wrong.
That's good. It's good that you're wrong. But now I just want to hear a little bit about what's I know you guys have motivation to do Justin Spire, but what is Justin Spire?
So the way that I see things most of the time is we've set up a landscape for people to chase happiness, which I think is a terrible aim for life, because happiness is a fleeting thing. And when you chase happiness, the idea is to make memories for yourself. It's not a good goal for the world. You don't want to make memories, you want to leave legacies. And that's what this stuff is about. So on, what was it, December 18th, 16th?
Yeah. 16th through the 18th.
Justin sent me what I call a death text. You know, he said, hey, this is it. The doctors are going to make me comfortable. I'd like you to make sure that this legacy leaves on when I leave, which I don't turn down requests from dying men.
It's always a good policy.
Yeah, it's not something that I do. So I told him that, you know, I loved him and I'd absolutely move forward with, you know, whatever vision comes into fruition. I studied entrepreneurship in college. So what I do is build things from the ground up and get people, get a frame around a company and get it moving forward. In order to bootstrap things up, typically I don't have short-term plans. We get funds and then we do things as they come. For instance, you texted Justin this morning and we're sitting at your show now. So in order to keep things open and fluid in this type of environment, especially with the social media and how quickly we can contact each other now, that's easier for us. So what we're looking to do, firstly, is get students involved in physical activities, whether that be sports in their area or just getting outside and running, anything to get them away from the phones and the feedback loops through just looking at your screens. I'm a dog trainer by trade, and essentially what a phone does when it beeps at you is it primes you to look at it. If you look at your phone when it beeps at you or it vibrates at you, that's your phone's idea. It's a bad way to be trained as a human. You want to be able to have agency over your life, so other things shouldn't be driving you. That's what we want to teach children. Getting them into sports and around each other, excuse me, allows us to remove the layer of overseeing adults. Children need free play and to work things out on their own.
And get dirty. Yeah
and
definitely.
we don't allow them that anymore, and that shows as they age. They're not prepared to problem solve. They typically now they look to authority to fix things. They call someone else in to help. That's not what we want. People like Justin help themselves. People like Shawn help themselves, and they have serious impediments. Not, oh, this gives me anxiety. It's very different. Mm-hmm. So essentially, Just inspire children to get out and work with their bodies so that they can handle their own lives and the burdens that the world has for them. And they need to be prepared to do that alone.
Yeah.
Like these guys are.
So I just have a quick question. How do you guys plan, and I know I plan on being part of this as well, but what is the main way you're going to get these goals that you have to come to fruition?
I like to use any resources at our disposal. So there's a bunch of free sites like Patreon. Right now, the only way we're taking donations is through PayPal, but that can be changed within a matter of hours. Patreon is a type of site where you can pay monthly, so someone can hook their credit card up to Just Inspire and give, say, $1 a month, something like that. Crowdfunding things these days seems to be the move. There aren't many people with deep pockets that are willing to dish out a large sum of money so you can get something going. But there are plenty of people who have children who are willing to put forward $1 or $10. That'll go a long way towards getting people the help that they need.
So what type of like program? So like I guess say someone gives you $1,000, right? So what would you do with that? Like, you know, how is it like go towards like user fees or like, you know, to get, you know, is it to start programs or like what are you guys thinking?
If someone gave us $1,000, it depends. It depends. Like I said, we want to keep things fluid, so I've made a bunch of contacts with gyms in the area. We've been working with Shawn Seberg over at Boom Athletics. I'll continue to push kids through the wrestling team at Triton.
Yep.
I believe in making this decentralized. You know, it's not something that should need a big slush fund so we can pay things out.
Yep.
What we'd like to be able to do is have, if there are kids in the area whose only impediment is financing to get into a sport, we would happily pay. We would happily pay for kids like that to get into programs that they want to be into if the monetary situation was the only thing holding them back. We don't. There shouldn't be any excuses other than ability.
Yep.
And even so, because these guys have the ability excuses, you should still get out there and do it.
Yeah. And then is part of this also like, you know, so it's getting kids involved, you know, it doesn't have to be sports, anything outside kind of, or getting active, you know.
Any active, like get your mind working, get your arms working, whatever you want to do, just get moving instead of just sitting still. I know what it's like to just exist, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
So like, you know, and that was me being a man, just existing. When I was a youth, like I had drive from people around me making me move.
Yeah.
As adults, that's what we need to do to our youth, is get them moving. You know, we got to show them direction, right directions. And like I grew up in low income. Like, you know, just 'cause I grew up in Raleigh didn't mean I was like, you know, financially set. Like I bought like my family owned a house in Raleigh. You know, it was different. We had income limitabilities, where when I wrestled in high school, I never paid. Coach Mack, I'm pretty sure, worked out. He paid himself. He paid for it all the time, like for me every year. And like the sweatshirts and stuff, the boosters, back then we had to pay for them. I never paid. I'm pretty sure Mac worked it out every time. And like, I want us to be able to give kids that opportunity. We don't have to worry about that. And the parents don't have to worry about that, where they're still getting the productivity and like learning and growing as a core and as a unit together, you know what I mean? And just to be able to take that off their shoulders would be great. But the parents, you know what I mean, the kids want to probably do it. It could be any sport.
Yeah. So
it doesn't have to be wrestling.
So like looking at this too, like you're just listening right now, like, you know, getting kids involved, but like I in my head I see like the story, because stories are what people like, you know, it's like that's what inspires me anyways, like people's stories, you know what I mean? Like just
same here.
Like today I was reading, getting teary-eyed, like everything about you. I was like, geez, man. But you know, because everybody has a story to tell, you know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody.
And I think that I see, I mean, my own head is like, you guys are not just helping kids do stuff, you're inspiring them too. Or like some kid that might have a disability, or girl, a guy, doesn't matter who it is or what they do, but they have a disability in the world's eyes.
Yeah.
But you guys can inspire them that no, don't listen to society. You can do it, you know, if you really want to.
That's the funny thing about my story. Like, cystic fibrosis, I don't know nothing else. This is all I know. So this is my normal. Just like Devenish's normal is not being able to see like everybody else. You know, Brandon's just perfect anyways. So like, but you know, this is all I know. So when people are like, oh, that must stink having CF, like, no, like this is all I know. You know what I mean? This is me. Mm-hmm. So I just want nobody to have to like, you know, say like feel that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think I understand where you're coming from, Caleb. And Justin coming back from the brink, as I put it a couple of weeks ago, is these are the type of stories that inspire people. I do like to note that I'm not a storyteller. I'm someone who looks at data. My girlfriend doesn't like it.
Port Plum.
It's not. To me, the stories get people going. But the fact of the matter is, the things that we're doing they're backed by millennia of people moving. Being in sports is good for your body. It cuts your anxiety down. It cuts your depression down. It keeps you in good shape. The better shape your body is in, the better shape your mind is in. So what we're attempting to do is piggyback on the amazing stories like Devenish and like Elliott here, and get people up and going. Because there's no excuses. There wasn't excuses in that wrestling room when Elliott was in there, because you didn't have one. He had one. So there was no one else. You couldn't say, "Oh, I'm tired." You know, we have one kid over here. He's tired and he can't breathe. Keep going. We can do that through, like I said, leveraging these stories, because people become inspired. We view our lives as a narrative. You know, you should write your own story. That's something we should tell children. If you don't write your own story, you'll get a bit part in someone else's story. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. No, for sure. So, all right, let's take another quick break here, and we'll come back and talk about a little bit more about Just Inspire and hope you guys are enjoying this. This is awesome talking with these guys today about Just Inspire. All right, and we're back on. So let's talk a little bit. Right now we're talking to the guys from Just Inspire. They all coach at Triton, the wrestling team, and Justin and Brandon have been friends for years. And Shawn is he's a teacher at Triton, and he also helps with the wrestling team. It's just really kind of cool getting to talk to these guys and pick their brains about what they're doing and the big things they want to do in our community. So I guess right now, like, what's going on with your current thoughts on what you guys are doing? What are you guys planning? I know you guys are only 3 months old.
Well, right now we're planning on taking advantage of podcasts like this one.
Ouch.
In all seriousness, we'll take what comes our way as it comes our way. Right now, I'm working with Shawn over at Boom Athletics in Haverhill. We're going to try to get 2 days a week over there, and we'll be there, where a group of people can come in. We'll oversee the workout. We'll work out payment plans with the people who come. If there's financial disability, we'll work through all that. The important thing is that people show up. And as I was saying over the break, this isn't something that requires a huge financial push forward. It requires action from all the individual agents that are going to be part of it. So small action by each person is enough. What we want to see is positive results 10 years from now, because when you get kids that come out and they become active and they begin to be part of a community, which is something we've lost. We've decentralized everything. People move away from home. I know plenty of people who can't afford to live where I live just because they've been forced out. They've been forced out financially. It's not that they don't want to live around here. We live in one of the greatest places on earth that ever was, and people take that for granted. We take that for granted, and it's not a good look. It's not a good look. It's not a way to leave a legacy.
So, and you were talking, it isn't about the money that, the X's and the O's, like, it's about a belief too, kind of, right? Like
Absolutely.
Belief in yourself and others. And I remember growing up, playing sports in high school, especially, or even in college, not as much in college. But in high school, I think of some of my best memories were hanging out with all the guys that I played soccer with and lacrosse. I was terrible. I sat in the bench in basketball, and I just played because all my best friends were playing, and it was just so much fun. And you think of your best relationships, it usually revolved around, if you're in the play, you did marching band, you did, sports, all that type of stuff,
Yeah, like my best time, like, was the same thing, hanging out with the boys. But then before the boys was my brother Ty was like big into football and wrestling and stuff, and like WWF wrestling. But like, I just wanted to
when it was WWF.
I just wanted to hang out with all the older guys. I just wanted to play basketball growing up and baseball, and like your older brother Josh. That's how I knew him. Stuff like that. And it's ironic how the world goes full circle. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
And it's funny, Caleb played with my older brother. He played soccer and basketball with my older brother, and I'm sure he remembers me just hanging around, trying to be, like Justin said, be one of the guys. And it's some of my best friends still to this day are people I played football with, people I wrestled with. One of my wrestling coaches, Hayes, is sitting right next to me. And, Elliott, I didn't know him, but we came together because of the sports that we played.
You knew Daniel.
Oh, yeah, and Danny Elliott. I knew his younger brother. I actually taught his younger brother. But, it's amazing that these camaraderies come. And it's not just, like Hayes said, the benefits of being physically active. It's the building of the community among your people who have the same interests as you. And, Justin and I, if we didn't both wrestle at Triton, we may not have ever met each other. And it just came together. And then, this whole Just Inspire thing is something we sort of connected with because we were both, wrestled with a disability. And it really brought, his community and my community together. And now we're sitting here on a radio show talking about it. And I think that's the bigger part. I mean, the physical activity of sports is great, but I think the building of community, like Brandon said, is the bigger piece.
Yeah, I think community, it's like anything, family. Family doesn't have to be blood. It can be,
Sure.
a brotherhood, a sisterhood, any, that type of stuff that I think when you isolate yourself, it kind of doesn't happen.
I'm a proponent of mastery, and in order to master something, they say to master something you need to have 10,000 hours in it. The thing about mastery is you can get it to cross domains if you understand how to become an expert at something and you do it a few times. So, as I said earlier, I train dogs, and the more you teach them, the easier it is for them to learn. And it's not because they have some abstract concept. It's because they understand the process of learning and you teaching them. And those types of things, they spiral up. And we have what I would call the ADHD generation of children, which they can't keep focused. I've been in wrestling for 20 years. I've been in dogs for 20 years. The things that I do are my life. And if you don't make that for yourself, if you don't stick with something, you'll just be one of the other people who do it, because there's 7 billion of us, and the chances that I'm going to excel at something just through genetic talent is slim. It's slim, and we have to teach people to stick with the things they're doing and to add value for the people around them, because it's all I can do. We have a lot of complaints right now that people aren't being paid for their time. I have news for everybody. Your time isn't worth anything. If you're not creating something of value, it's worth nothing. And no one's going to pay you to do nothing. So we need to teach people to create something with their time that has value to a third party. You can't complain about things you're not getting if you're not making anything in return. And it's a sad place to be. And to tell someone that and to have them say that you offend them is a terrible conversation to have. And it's no way to move forward. So by creating a more robust generation of children, we'll have more solid culture moving forward. It's better for everyone.
Yeah, man, that was deep, because I'm a small business owner and stuff like that, and some days you don't. I mean, on social media you can make your life look awesome, right? And like how great everything is, but in reality, it's a grind.
Yeah, but what you're doing online is pushing forward a persona, and you can only hold up that facade. You can only hold up that facade for so long, because it's physiologically taxing, because it's not real. If you're not riding the wave of the truth, you're going to get drowned. It's not a thing that you can avoid. In the Bible, the truth is a flaming sword. You're in trouble if you don't see this place the way that it is. Mm-hmm. And we don't teach people to see the place the way that it is. We tell everyone that they're special the way that they are, and they're not. They're special when they can add to a group or to a family, when they can contribute to a family. That's what makes people special. We're not special individually. We're useless animals in the woods. Naked. We freeze when the weather's too cold.
Yep.
We need clothes and a roof over our head. No one can do that by themselves. It's a joke to tell people that individualism is the goal of this place. It's not.
The community, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, it's like it takes community to build anything, right? Like one person can do something, get to the top, but how many people that helped them along the way? I think of myself, like I have a lot of people that I consider good friends or mentors that if I didn't have them on speed dial to talk me from, throwing in the towel, I mean, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today. But it's because of people like that believe in me because of what I'm doing. Same thing with you guys. Like, people believe in what you guys are doing, so people want to be a part of it and they want to help you in any way and get involved. And I think that's the cool thing, is if people can see that you're inspired, right, and that you truly believe in it. It's like if I was trying to come around and sell you something that I didn't believe in, it'd be really hard for me to try to sell it to you, right? Or not trying to sell you anything, but like in the context I'm talking. But it's definitely, if you truly feel it in your heart, people are going to see that and the authenticity. You
can't not believe in it. What we're doing is it's just real. Yeah, we're not trying to sell anything to anyone. We're trying to help everyone with everything, and it can be done now. For the first time ever, it can be done. Yeah. We had to choose to do it.
Seriously.
Yeah. Basically, I live in my heart all day long, just inspired. This is what I do. Like, and I didn't have that before, where, you say family, camaraderie, all that. The reason why I wanted to go through a transplant was because my nephew asked me if I would be around for them growing up. And I promised him I would do whatever I could to be around as long as I could for them. And that's what I feel like internally started my transformation myself. Like I found a purpose bigger than myself, that I don't have kids. Those are my kids. And no, it's all family. Like that all comes, the drive comes, like I don't want to run 3.6 miles yesterday. Yeah. I don't want to do that. But I want to be around for them.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, I know I have a better chance of doing it now that I physically can, to keep doing it.
So do you think that what happened, like, I mean, because when I read, essentially, like, you woke up one day and, like, you were like,
oh, yeah,
fine.
It was crazy. It's all true.
And that was, like, nothing short of a miracle. Like, you know what I mean?
It is a miracle.
If you, I told Elliott, after the death text, I was the first person, I picked him up and we went to wrestling practice, and we've been moving forward ever since. But you can dispense with the metaphysical, portion of Justin's story. And the fact that he's alive is a miracle. Miracles are all the time and all around us. The fact that the lights go on is a miracle. It's miracle enough.
Especially for me.
Yeah. Especially for Devenish. So you don't even have to have a taste for the divine to understand that coming back from having the types of symptoms that Elliott had to not having them anymore is a miracle. It's an incredible thing.
And so, like, that transformation, that miracle, like, that's what I want to call it. It's crazy. It's amazing.
The doctors don't know what's going on.
Yeah, but like,
it's awesome.
So, but what type of motivation does that give you now?
Oh, it's a crazy experience what happened, no matter what. But like, the motivation I have now is when I woke up, I've had it ever since. It's been this thing where my purpose is just to help others, and by helping others, it's like I get it back. It's gratitude is a scientific fact. Gratitude reciprocates.
But I think that you shouldn't be here right now.
No, it's a second lease on life, basically. I got a second chance. And it's crazy to think of, because like the last 2 weeks while I was in there, when that whole thing, the episode, really like 12 days, but it felt like eternity.
Can you tell us just a little bit about right around the time that you, like, it just...
when it got better?
Yeah.
Like, you mean when I woke up?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was in there, I checked in, I sent Hayes that text. I knew my doctor was mad I left. He didn't know I left because the CF team was off on the like nights, and then I was having some issues with some other doctors on a different team.
Yep.
Not gonna say. This is Brigham Women's Hospital, and I ended up basically getting told, like, we can't do nothing. But when my doctor was there, he was like, "What is going on here?" I was writing down symptoms, you name it, and either way, it was all a mess. He was mad I left, and when I came in, all that stuff happened. And that night, I didn't think I was throwing up blood, and they wanted to do an endoscopy, an exploratory endoscopy, on the next morning, the 17th of the morning, at 7 a.m. I knew I wasn't gonna make the night. I was seeing visuals, I was seeing light, like my body was all blue. My boss came to see me. My father came to see me. My boss came in. I was having spiritual experiences. I talked about his mother, who's been gone for 10 years. It was a beautiful thing. Out of nowhere, just like sat up with life in me, and I was blue, like I was completely blue, and some cool stuff, And then at night, I knew it was over, and I went to bed, and this experience I was having was unreal. And then all of a sudden, I woke up. All of a sudden, I woke up. It was 7 a.m. and I had the song from Shinedown, "Get Up, Get Up, Get a Move On," playing in my headphones. That was on. First off, my headphones, this was like 3 hours before. I remember the thing. Usually my YouTube Red shuts off. It didn't, somehow. And that was the words. And then all of a sudden the door opens, and it's the nurse saying, "All right, they're here for you." And I was like, okay. And for some reason, I was like, I think I got this. Like, I felt like stuff inside me was like getting better, but it hurt. It really hurt. And I was on no pain meds, by the way. Because I was hooked on oxys 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. December 2nd, 2016. It's my sober date. And I didn't want to be on drugs. If this was it, I wanted to be like, I'm going to go through it. And I did. And when I woke up, started wheeling me down. My doctor, I refused pain medicine during the endoscopy. During it, they called my brother. My brother, the doctor is telling him, Ty, he's refusing the pain medicine during surgery. And I felt like I had it. And then I woke up again. It was 11 a.m. And my doctor was telling me, we don't know what's going on. We're going to keep looking. We think it's maybe celiac disease. That's what they said. 2 weeks later, I got a letter, found out, no, it's not celiac disease, by the way. There's no trace of it. They don't know basically, they didn't know what happened. Besides just CF killed me. And I woke up at noon with my other boss, Rob from Colonial Dry Jacked, sitting next to me. And they're like, hey, Rob's here. And I was like, oh, I sat right up. I was like, all right, let's do this. I was like, can I eat? And they're like, yeah. And I look over, my boss, he freaked out. He sat back. He's like, what's going on? And I was still blue, but I was ready to eat and everything. And I was like, I got this, and I've been feeling the same way ever since.
That's crazy.
But then 3 years ago, briefly touch, when I woke up too, I didn't notice it the first day. But a couple of little things I noticed, I look back now, but the next day I started testing it. So I had a stroke, 3 strokes in my cerebellum 3 years ago. And my residuals was I couldn't look up. I couldn't look up to my right. I would see lightning bolts, excruciating pain in my eyes. And I had numbness in my right side of my face, my right side of my arm. My gas pedal, on my right leg, was a little bit off and everything. I haven't driven since my strokes. I'm ready to drive now. All of a sudden, when I woke up too, they're gone. I can look up, look to the right, I can feel my whole arm, my whole face again. Everything. It's just, I don't know what else to say besides a miracle. And I feel like I just have this purpose instilled me, to give back to others now and show them, I guess there's more out there than us. That in the way to what we're supposed to do with our being here is to inspire others to be better. And in return, you become better. And fitness, I believe, it's one of those things I've never been able to really do all out. And so I just can't get enough of it now. Honestly, I never thought life could ever be this good. I asked myself that almost every hour. And every hour right after, about 30 seconds after saying that to myself, does it get any better than this? I answer quickly, yes, because it will. And it does every time.
That's amazing. It's crazy.
Elliott tells me it's the best day of his life every day.
I pray for the best day of my life every morning.
At least a couple of times.
But
that's for real.
I have to earn it, though.
So Shawn,
Yeah.
I mean, and the other thing is we have about 10 minutes left now, but tell us a little about your story too, because Justin's got this amazing story, but you also have an awesome story too about you're essentially can't see anything, and tell us a little bit about your story about growing up. And
Well, it doesn't compare to Justin's. I mean, I wake up every.
I think it's better than mine.
I wake up every morning wow, and I see Justin's post. And I'm like, I can breathe. I can't complain about it's dark in this room. That's not a complaint. I mean, he can his lungs he has 1.5 lungs. I have all my lungs, and I don't run 3.9 miles. I don't think I could. I'd die. But I mean, I was born with retinitis pigmentosa. It's a inherited retinal disease that has left me with no color vision, so everything is black and white. I have no peripheral vision, so it's as if looking through a pair of binoculars, but without the 2 circles. It's just like I'm putting my hands over my eyes, like as if you were looking through one of those old viewfinders, which nobody around these days knows what that is. But and I also had no night vision most of my life, and I was lucky enough that my parents worked very hard, and I had we had a decent middle class living. But as a kid, I would always say, oh, I want to be outside playing at night, but I would have to come in, and I'd see my brother and all our friends outside at night, and I would say, why can't I be out there? Why can't? And and then I got watching sports on TV was my only way to, be part of the sports world. And then finally my mom and dad said, do you want to try playing sports? And first I tried soccer, and I am the most horrible soccer player in the world. And, I take after my brother. But
Kyle, hope you're not listening.
But and then I always watched football, and I said, I really want to play that. I really want to play that. I really want to play that. And, my parents saying, oh, a blind guy out playing football? Yeah, that's going to go well. And eventually it took the convincing of our athletic director at the time and the vice principal at Triton, Scott Brennan, to convince my parents to let me try it. And they said, we'll make sure he won't get killed, but, convince me to try it. And they're like, he won't be on varsity. I was a sophomore at the time. He won't be on varsity. He won't do this. He won't do that. And then, by my senior year, I didn't start on varsity, but I played in every single game. Not because I was great at it, just because I was there and, dedicated. I didn't miss a single practice, even though some of them happened at night, and it was really hard to practice. But, and then I had a few buddies convince me to wrestle, and they're like, oh, you'll love it, you'll love it. And I only did it because they did it. And it turned out, I wasn't the best at it, but I was part of some of the, Brandon can argue, maybe some of the best teams in Triton history, and I was the worst wrestler on that team. But, I was in the lineup, and, I give credit to Coach Mack for throwing me out there against, we joke that my first varsity match ever was against a future New England champion. So, and I got my butt kicked. But, and then I went to college. I was like, I loved sports. I loved all this, and I got to find a way to give back like Justin did. So I majored in physical education, and I decided to, teach sports in school so that kids that don't necessarily have, maybe the best ability or even disabilities could perform in sports like I did. And then I, as I got home from college, I decided, I'm looking for something to do. So I thought of maybe joining a slow pitch softball team. And I found, actually, and I'm going to do a selfless plug here for the Association of Blind Citizens Boston Renegades. It's a baseball team I'm on. And we compete all around the country in the summer against team fully made of people who are blind or visually impaired. So it's, and I'm probably one of the more sighted people on that team, which is weird because it's usually the other way around. I'm usually the blindest person on every team. But, and you think if I inspire one person, I've done a good job. But some of those guys are totally blind and are theoretical physicists and, computer engineers and all this. And I was lucky enough this September to hear about a gene therapy to treat my specific condition, and I went through with it. And I went to Mass Eye, Dr. Commander, some of the best doctors in the world, and they were able to improve my night vision by 400 times.
Wow.
And and I made the joke that 400 times 0 is still 0. But my doctor was like, you had a little bit. And I'm like, well, 400 times 0.01 is, I'm not a mathematician. I'm a gym teacher, but that's not a very big number. But he said, your night vision is, quote unquote, almost normal now. And I've never been told any sort of my vision is almost normal. So, that was a big moment. And then I coach freshman football as well. And Coach Max said, I've been looking to do something in the winter. And he said, come coach wrestling. And I'm like, I wasn't a great wrestler. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, you know enough to, teach the kids that don't know what they're doing. And, Justin, Brandon, and I are out there wrestling with these kids that are, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And I'm 26. And I felt dead. I was like, how did I ever do this?
I still feel that every day.
I know. And at the end of the season, I think somebody cracked my ribs. So it's like, but yeah, I mean, that's, it's nothing compared to Justin's story. I was never on death's door. I mean, I did some dumb things when I, not being able to see. I've tripped over things, fell down stairs. But, Justin, his story is incredible. And I just would like to, if I can add anything to the Just Inspire cause, I mean, I'm happy to do, we're going to do a CF walk. When is that, Justin? Is that
May 19th?
May 19th, and we're all going to go into Boston and do a walk. Team Just Inspire.
Great Strides Boston.
Great Strides Boston. He's a good plugger.
Shout
he is.
Shout out to Carol Bradstreet.
Yeah, shout out to Carol.
CFF Foundation, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Mass Rhode Island chapter.
Wow, and we're going to go do that, and we're going to have a ball. And then, if we can raise, get, like Brandon said, get these kids out doing something just based on our story, then I think Justin and I would say we've done a good job.
So we're gonna wrap this up now. We got about 4 minutes left. So I just want like last comments from each one of you guys, just about what gets you up out of bed every morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, family, absolutely family, and the people around me, which my friends who I consider my family. I stay a lot actually lately at Hayes' house, and his girlfriend Katie. I realize now Hayes eats like a king all the time, and she is trying to put bulky weight on me, but I just keep exercising too much. I guess.
There you go, man.
But yeah, family gets me up every morning, no matter what. Just put those 2 feet down first. First step's the hardest. Do something for someone else first. In return, you can do something for yourself, and all gratitude will reciprocate.
That's awesome. How about you, Brandon?
Oh, final words. Find us online. We're easy to find. You can search Brandon Hayes, Hayes House Kennels, Justin Spire, Triton Wrestling. We're easy to find people. These are the guys that inspire me to get up in the morning. That and Katie cooks breakfast. My schedule was the dog's schedule for a long time, so animals get you up.
There you go,
They
man.
don't take days off.
I have a horse farm, so I know what that's all about.
They do not take days off.
Exactly.
What gets me up is, again, like Brandon just said, I'm going to kind of steal his words, but people like Justin get me up, and I work with kids with autism spectrum disorders, and, I could be having the worst day, and I look at some of these kids, and they're working hard just to get to school and do what they're supposed to. And I complain, daylight savings time, we just got an hour back. I'm like, I'll complain, 4:30, and I have to go inside. Some of these kids, wake up every day and don't know what's happening. And, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning, is working with these kids and working with people like Justin and Brandon.
It's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming, Shawn, Brandon, Justin.
Thank you.
And Justin Spire.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know I'm inspired,
I wasn't even supposed to be here.
And I hope everybody at home really enjoyed, or in their cars enjoyed listening today, because I think that if anything we learned today, it's just how inspiring others and being active and friendship and family and community is just huge, and reciprocating, doing stuff for others and receiving it back. And, it might not be, they might not do something for you, but you just doing something for that person.
It will inspire them to do something for someone else.
Exactly.
That's where it's at.
So we just really appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for the
Thanks
opportunity.
for having us. Yeah.
This was awesome. Thanks for having us.
And Justin Spire, check it out on Facebook if you want to get involved. It sounds like the more the merrier. So we really appreciate you guys coming today, and hope you guys have a great afternoon. This is Afternoon Drive. Drew Mulholland, but I'm Caleb Noble. See you guys next week.